Hey everybody, we're making a story.
It's time for Comics Kids!
Hey Comics Kids, welcome back to our inking episodes. Now, my other inking episode about traditional inking tools kind of got a little bit long, so I needed to make two videos. I separated into two parts. This part here is going to be dedicated to traditional, non-traditional inking tools, which are the more modern tools like markers and inking pens and such as that. So we're going to get started right away. My name is Mr. Craig. I'm with the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Green Bay and the virtual Boys and Girls Club, as well as Boys and Girls Club Creates. And let's get right down to business and learn how to ink our pages a little bit better. All right, so now I'm going to get down to my preferred method of inking, and that's with a series of drawing pens. And I like to use a product called Faber-Castell, but there's other type of products out there that you can use that there's a ton of different kinds. Faber-Castell, the M is like a medium, but that's the starting point that I like to use. So that's gonna find a nice M here and really use that one quite a bit. The F's and the S's, the fine and the small, they start getting into areas where you can really get some fine detail. There's an extra small, which will get as fine as that other tool did for us. But let's go in here, let's check this pen, and it's working pretty good. But now just inking my stuff is way easier. But before I do that, let's see if I have yet another tool in here. Yes, I do. This one's got a B on it. Guess what the B stands for? Brush tip. That's right. It actually is very flexible, so it can give you those thick and thin lines that we could get with the brush on the other parts, but you are using the convenience of a marker, and it's so much easier to create the line thickness that you want and control where you're going. And again, I think I'd get faster and better if I were to use a brush a lot, a real brush. But the brush pen gives us that speed and cleanliness that the brush escapes. The brush doesn't quite give us. Look at that, so fast, so nice. Get my bumpy smoke line in here. Bumpy smoke line in there. Oh, that's not smoke line. That's a tree back there, buddy. Don't make that into a smoke line. But no, don't use your brush line for making the tree back there. What are you, dumb? No, you want to try to use the thinner lines for that. Come on, pal. Pay attention. All right, I will. Going in here nice and quickly. It's just such a convenient tool. And here we're going to bring his arm down. And notice how I'm putting all these little folds in his clothing. It just adds that little bit of interest. If you just make it into a straight noodle, it'll work. But when you add in these other little parts, it gives a little more character to your drawing. A little more character to your person in your story. Here he's got his tongue out because he's hungry. Catch his nose. His eye. Eyebrows. Looking good there, buddy. Looking good. Let's get his pocket. Hand. Notice here how the one foot kind of comes out of the panel a little bit. So let's allow that to happen. A lot of times when I'm working with some of the younger kids, they'll have these beautiful lines that are going over things, and something will overlap the line, and they'll forget to draw it, leave it empty where it's overlapping. So they'll actually make it almost like it's translucent or transparent. And you want to try to make sure that if something's overlapping something, you can see through it. Now that's a really abstract thing I just described. If I come across something, I will show you what I'm talking about. Here, here's my lunchbox. It's coming over the top of my panel. A lot of times what some of the little kids will do is they'll draw right through the things that are overlapping. They won't erase that little section that's sticking out there. And that's unfortunate, because that means we got to clean it up later. We're gonna clean it up in the computer or with whiteout early. Most of the time we'll clean up with a computer, because it's just way more convenient for me to clean it up with Photoshop than it is for me to clean it up with a whiteout brush and that type of stuff. Look at how nice and fast this is going. Almost got this entire panel inked up. And it's kind of refreshing and relaxing too, because you can just kind of ink it at your own speed. And I haven't even done the cool part yet. That's the really rewarding part of this process, is when you get to erase the pencil lines and clean up your drawing. I'm going pretty fast too, gang. I'm not going to lie. Some of you guys should take a little bit more time. I'm able to work neatly at a nice fast speed, so I don't have to worry so much about drawing super slow. But like that line right there, that's kind of messed up. I wanted to try to have it match the water, and that would be a little bit of an arc. Here his arm is coming out, and there his arm is coming out. I also like to turn the paper if I have a line that I need to ink that is not in the direction that my hand likes to go. This isn't too bad though. Okay, I'm gonna put this one to the side for a second, and I can use a thicker M too if I wanted to. But now if I want to mark out that line, this is way easier to do than it is to do it with the brush or the dip pen. And I can be way more accurate as well. So when you're inking some of your key lines, you want to use a ruler, a straight edge, and a marker. That works out pretty good. Go in here, add a little bit of detail. I'm going to go down to my fine. Fine is a nice illustration size. Let's add a couple of texture lines on the side of the bread. I'm going to go back down to my small, which I think is even sharper. Where's my small? Here's a small. Is it working? No, this one's junk. Well, that one is going to get thrown away. Here's a small, and that one looks fine. I have my students get to use these tools as well, so sometimes they're shot, and that's okay. I'll just have to use some that aren't. Put some hairs on his head, put a little bit more detail in his ear, thicken up that side, put a little bit of texture on his smokestack, maybe on his helmet. You can use this super thin line to kind of define the edge of the tree a little bit better. Get a texture line, and again, we can just make an indication line for what's grass is back there. Texture, texture, texture. And it might look like I'm doing this randomly, but I'm not. This is all kind of thought. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about it as a three-dimensional surface and where the light might be hitting it. I want to do three different directions actually with my line, all to simplify or symbolize different direction that the shading would be coming in. And I think he's done. Let's add a little bit of detail on the other guy. And I'm going to go back to, well, before I do that, let's kind of add a little bit of a wooden surface or a little wooden log-like feel to the edge of this post. Across the top. You can kind of add a little bit of texture across there, little shadows. Just adding a little bit extra in there. Anytime you can add just a little bit, something for people to look at, something to fill in space, something to add interest. Well, that looks pretty good. We're missing a line there, but I'm going to do that with the brush tool. And ultimately, this panel, and this panel have now been inked using different tools, but you really can't tell the difference too much. Now this is the part that can get frustrating. I'm going to try to go around the outside of this, and I want to try to do it smooth, but I always mess up. And you know what I do when I'm done with them then? Is I'll fix them in the computer later on. So there's my word bubble. Go back in here with a straight line. We've got some texture here that we can put in. Uh-oh. That one was still wet. Some water ripples in there. Now, when this is sort of dry, you can go in here with a nice soft eraser and clean it up. Ooh, nice. Now I am erasing my lettering and my wording. It's okay. That will not be gone. We will talk about that in another episode. A lot of times the kids will miss a line or two that they forgot to ink, and it's like, hey, you missed the nose. Hey, you missed that eye line. And they can go, oh yeah, we got to catch that. So they go back in and fix it as they're going. For the most part, it's pretty easy to see when you've inked something and when you've missed it, so you don't lose it. I want to add a little bit of rock textures in here too, because it's like there's a little pebbly beach maybe as it's going out. More weeds. A little bit of grass texture in there. Natural texture. Just again to fill it in. Oh, that's looking nice. And then maybe a couple of little pieces of texture on the road path underneath himself. It's always nice to little rocks, little pebbly rocks that are coming through there. All right, well, I'm going to continue inking this, and I'm going to probably do it pretty fast so you guys can see it from one of the different cameras. Now, I shouldn't even have to tell you guys this, because it's fairly obvious, but I don't draw this fast in real life. The camera has been sped up to about 2 or 3 times what it normally would take to draw this stuff, but it helps to make the video a little bit shorter and helps to realize just how long it really took to do this. These drawings and this whole page, if I were to measure it out, probably took about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to draw the entire thing. Ink it from start to finish, and I didn't want you guys to have to suffer through 2.5 hours of Mr. Craig babbling on about all the little details that I'm doing. But these are things that if you can only get a couple of panels done in an afternoon or an hour before you need to take a break, take a break. For some kids, they're going to have their page done in a week. Whereas another kid, it might take him a couple of months to finish a page. And I'm not kidding. I've had one kid that it took him an entire year to finish a page, but he finally did. So, this is the final page. We're also going to be sharing with you guys in the coming days a couple of colored pieces. These are some pages that the kids did at the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Green Bay. And this one here was done with some colored pencils and computer coloring. This one was done 100% colored on the computer, as well as this one, and this one. But I definitely want to show you guys how some of these are laid out. And finally, I want to share with you guys a page that I did, and I inked this baby. This is me at my chained to my drawing table for a chapter break that I did in a comic book that I was working on. And this, you can see all the different details that's hidden in there. Wow, did that take a lot of time to get all that done. And then coloring it was quite a job too, but I have been so pleased with how this turned out. In fact, this page, this piece of artwork, the final poster, is hanging in an art gallery in Green Bay. So that's pretty awesome. Let me tell you this, gang, stay creative, stay focused, stay artistic. My name is Mr. Craig. I am with the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Green Bay, as well as the Boys and Girls Club Virtual Club and the Boys and Girls Club Creates. So we'll see you soon. Get ready to start coloring, gang. It's coming.